May not go to sleep right away anyway. Where am I at, though? Where are we going, and why am I in this basket? Chapter 64, Ready or Not. Monday morning, bright and early, they started on the security measures that Gunny had outlined. The men in Mark's family insisted on helping with the work, but Mark felt that they had not recuperated enough from their long trip to work as hard as the jobs would require. Gunny agreed with Mark. Guard duty, however, was not so physically strenuous, and the security chief put the 4 newcomers there. They didn't really know the ropes, but with the doubled numbers on watch, there were plenty of old-timers to help them learn. Greg and Rob had shown up with the fence materials early, and with the help of Chaparro's crew, it was tied to the barbed wire fence in just a few hours. Then they started helping Ted and his crew with the brush in back of the subdivision. But with only a couple of working chainsaws, it was slow work. All types of handsaws were put to use. Most were never designed for cutting small trees and brush, but everyone used what they had to the best of their ability. Anything that was usable as firewood was dragged into the subdivision and stacked, while all of the brush was stacked in a row about 50 yards behind the fence that would be hard for an attacker to crawl through. Yeah. The biggest team was Susan's digging crew. It included Mark and Jim. The large crew started on the foxholes. Gunny had marked where he wanted them with Susan the day before. He told her to skip every other one for now. Then they would come back after the first half was done and do the second half. That way, he explained, if they only got halfway done before the MCBs attacked, they wouldn't just have fighting positions on one side of the neighborhood. Susan went further and broke the men into 8-man squads and dispersed them around the subdivision. Mark found her organizational skills to be excellent, even if she didn't get along with everyone all the time. Unlike suitable saws, shovels were not in short supply, and the work progressed nicely. As the day wore on, people from outside the neighborhood showed up and helped with the digging. With the help they were getting, Mark estimated that they would have all the foxholes dug by the next afternoon. Then they would start on the vehicle ditches. That would be a monumental job since the subdivision was right at 3/4 of a mile deep. The only equipment they had to help them was a tractor with the plow attached, and all it could do was to break the ground and make the first 18 inches or so easier to dig. Mark had asked Greg and Rob, who had stayed to help after the fence was erected, if they knew of any heavy equipment that was available. Unfortunately, they didn't, but they promised to keep an eye out for any. Mark was thankful that it was November. It was still warm, but nowhere near as hot as the Texas summer. If it had been August when the burst happened, the heat would have allowed them to only do half the work. Even with the longer days, when it got too dark to see, they called it a day. Mark was walking home. Jim caught up with him. "Mark, got a minute?" "Sure, what's up?" "Mark, you've got to do something about that witch." Mark knew whom he was talking about. Tension between Jim and Susan had been building for the past few weeks. "What happened now?" "She went off on us because we moved one of the foxholes over a little. We hit a big rock about a foot down. I mean, this thing was more like a boulder. So instead of taking the time to dig it out, we moved the hole over about 6 feet. When she saw what we did, she went ballistic. I tried to explain to her why we moved it, but she just kept on screaming. Gunny heard the commotion and came over and told her that it was all right. For a moment, I thought she was going to yell at him, too. She turned around and stomped off like a 3-year-old. The guys I was digging with were so mad they wanted to